Hello everyone, I'm Kamal Noori and here is Remote Sense Geosciences channel. Today we want to talk about SPOTS, SPOT series or high resolution satellites. Let's start. SPOT series missions. The SPOT series has been supplying high resolution wide area optical imagery since 1986. Conceived by the French National Center for Space Studies, or CNES, 5 satellites were launched between 1986 and 2015. And in revealing Earth's surface in detail, they lead to new applications in mapping, vegetation monitoring, land use and land cover, and the impact of natural disaster. The latest satellite in this series, Spot 6 and Spot 7, are chemical satellites owned by Airbus Defence and Space. Spot 7 was launched on 30 June 2014 and operated successfully until March 2023. Spot 7 formed a constellation with Spot 6 to provide continuity of high-resolution, wide swath data. It carried the NAOMI instrument. All of the SPOT satellites provide imagery in panchromatic and multispectral bands with a swath of 60 kilometers. But this slide about Spot 1. Spot 1 was a commercial Earth imaging satellite from CNES in France. It was launched on 22 February 1986 and ceases operations in November 2003. Spot 1, 2, and 3 were identical. This table is showing Spot 1 mission parameters. For example, orbit height 820 and 32 kilometers. Orbit type sun synchronous. Orbit inclination 98.7 degree. Orbit duration 101 minutes. Repeat cycle 26 days. Spot 1 instrument, high resolution visible or HRV. Two identical HRV, high resolution visible imaging instruments on Spot 1 provided data at 10 meter spatial resolution and were able to operate in two modes, panchromatic mode and 20 meter multispectral mode. It's a swath of 60 kilometers simultaneously or visually. The HRV had an oblique viewing capability of 27 degrees on each side of the local vertical. The swath was 117 kilometers square. In both sensors were used simultaneously with a 13 square kilometers overlap. This slide about Spot 2. Spot 2 was a commercial Earth imaging satellite from CNES in France. It was launched on 22 January 1990 and ceases operations deorbited in July 2009. And this table is showing Spot 2 mission parameters. For example, orbit height, orbit type, orbit inclination, orbit duration, and repeat cycle or temporal resolution is showing in this table. But Spot 3. About Spot 3. Spot 3 was a commercial Earth imaging satellite from CNES in France. It was launched on 26 September 1993 and ceases operations after a malfunction in November 1996. This table also is showing Spot 3 mission parameters. For example, orbit height, orbit type, orbit inclination, orbit duration, and repeat cycle. But this slide about Spot 4. Spot 4 was a commercial Earth imaging satellite from CNES in France. It was launched on 24 March 1998 and ceases operations after a malfunction on 29 June 2030. Mission parameters of Spot 5. Spot 5 was a commercial Earth imaging satellite from CNES in France. It was launched on 4 May 2002 and ceases operations after a malfunction in March 2015. Excuse me. Spot 5 instruments, high resolution geometric or HRG. Spot 5 has two HRG instruments that were deduced from the HRVIR of Spot 4. They offered a high resolution on 2.5 to 5 meters in panchromatic mode and 10 meters in multispectral mode, 20 meters on shortwave infrared, 1.58 to 1.75 micrometers. Both instruments were able to operate in two modes, either simultaneously or individually. They had a swath of 117 square kilometers if operated simultaneously with an overlap of 3 square kilometers. The HRG instrument had an oblique viewing capability of 27 degrees on each side of the local vertical. And this table is showing the parameters of Spot 5 instruments. For example, horizontal row or row parameters show parameters, panchromatic band, MS or multispectral band, and SWIR band. And vertical showing swath with FOV or field of view, oblique viewing angle, HRV or high resolution geometric, telescope type, spectral range, detector elements per line, number of line, detector size, integration time per line, GSD or grand sample distance, SNR, and MTF. And this slide, high resolution stereoscopics, HRS. The HRS imaging instrument operated in panchromatic mode and pointed forward and backward, enabling it to take stereo pair image to show map relief with scene length up to 600 km. Spot 5 provided imagery with a swath of 120 square kilometers. Other instrument, vegetation 2. With some minor improvement regarding instrument operations, the vegetation 2 instruments or VTG2 in identical in its technical specification to imaging flown on spot 4. This instrument can cover almost all Earth's surface in a day because of its swath size of 22 and 15 km. In capture reflected light in 4 spectral bands: blue, red, near infrared, and middle infrared. And this slide is showing spot 6 mission parameters. But about spot 6. Spot 6 is a commercial Earth imaging satellite owned and operated by Airbus Defence and Space. It was launched on 9 September 2020 and remains operational. Spot 6 and Spot 7, identical satellites from a constellation designed to provide continuity of high resolution, wide swaths, spot data up to 20 and 23. Both satellites have drawn on technical and operational innovations conceived for a Lydids constellation. It represents a source of broadcast imagery in complement to the Pleiades very high resolution data. Users have access to 1.5 meter color imagery, to high quality ortho images, and to large area mosaics. Spot 6 instrument. New AstroSat optical modular instrument or NAOMI. Two identical NAOMI instruments on board Spot 6 provide data up to 1.5 meters spatial resolution, panchromatic and multispectral. They are able to operate both in two modes, either simultaneously or individually. In simultaneous mode, the SOAS is 120 square kilometers, and in the visual mode, the SOAS is 16 square kilometers. But this slide is showing spot 7 vision parameters. For example, orbit height, orbit type, orbit inclination, local equator crossing time, orbit duration, repeat cycle, and revisit capability. What about Spot 7? Spot 7 is a commercial Earth imaging satellite and was renamed Asterisk. It was launched in 2014 and remained operational. The final satellites in the Spot series, Spot 6 and Spot 7, are initial identical satellites and assure data continuity through to 20 and 24. Spot 7 instrument. New AstroSat Optical Modular Instrument, or NAOMI. Two identical NAOMI instruments on board Spot 7 provide data up to 1.5 meters spatial resolution, panchromatic and multispectral. They are able to operate in two modes, either simultaneous or individually. In simultaneous mode, the SOAS is 120 square kilometers, and individual mode, the SOAS is 16 square kilometers. Other instruments. The vegetation instrument was carried on Spot 7. This instrument can cover almost all Earth's surface in a day because of its SOAS size on 22 and 50 kilometers. It capture reflected high in four spectral bands: blue, red, near infrared, and middle infrared. And final slide is showing Sydney Airport in Australia. Many thanks for your attention.